Blue side is one of League of Legends' most well-kept secrets, and it's rarely ever talked about within either the pleb space or even the professional space. Now, this goes way back in time of blue side having an advantage, and there was an article that was done by Dot Esports in which they analyzed in 2017 the meta up to that point. I believe it was during week 2. They analyzed all the games and they found that there was a 64% win rate among blue side teams. Now, initially when you think of the advantages of blue side versus red side is obviously the camera angles, right? The camera angle, it's easier to see when you're on blue side because you have the HUD itself at the bottom. So everything on the HUD at the very bottom takes up the most room, right? And well, the best place to put that would be at the bottom if you're at the blue side, because you already know where your character is at and you already know exactly like what's behind your character versus, you know, what's up forward. Say you're playing the bot lane. Well, you would like to know where the enemy is. So there's less real estate that is being taken up when you're on blue side versus red side. So there's just this natural camera advantage, and there's really not a great workaround unless you were to change your HUD over to the top. But other than that, there's really no way to kind of be comfortable within League of Legends itself due to the camera angles. And often people will say that it's easier to land skill shots if you are blue side because of just the camera angle positioning and difference of scrolling your mouse wheel or your actual mouse and panning your mouse across the entire screen and whatnot. So it becomes this crazy kind of small advantage that you can gain just from the camera angle and just the way that the game is set up in the first place. That's the most obvious thing. Now, the other thing is that you would think that red side has dragon advantage, right? You just inherently, okay, you have the open facing portion of the dragon towards, you know, the top side. Just so we're clear, the top upper part of the map is red side, obviously, and then the bottom portion is blue side, right? So with that said, red side should have the dragon advantage, but in pro play, and this is the key thing, pro play, that really doesn't matter because vision is just better controlled in pro play. So with red side, the inherent advantage of bot side is that you can't really be flanked that well from the enemy jungler, right? So you aren't punished for lack of vision, but with blue side you are. Well, turns out though with competitive play that people are pretty fucking good at doing, you know, their homework in terms of vision control. So you have your jungler and your support handling vision control. And not only that, but just inherently, because the support is at the bottom side of the map and he's there for a fucking reason, it's because it's the easier place to gank, right? So they force that portion down to the bottom side, right? They put the support there for a reason as well too, because it is the shorter lane, and it's also the one that's more heavily, I guess, ganked, and also it's by Dragon too, and it's just kind of stuck around, and then they added the Rift Herald afterwards and whatnot, right? So this is just the center of attention for the entire map, and so that just creates this dynamic to where blue side just has this inherent advantage, and also it's harder to gank a blue side top laner instead of a red side top laner because, you know, there's that little portion in the wall that you can go and gank through behind them. So just all in all, blue side has the advantage even when it comes to the geography of the map. Now, when you look at flex picks, that's when the whole entire concept of the red side draft advantage just completely gets nullified. So I did an interview with Prawley a little bit ago where he had said that NA doesn't know how to counterpick, and that's why red side really doesn't have an advantage when it comes to North America specifically. Well, that's not even just the case of North America, but now it's the entire world, because realistically, you have flex picks that can then not get counterpicked. You can always change wherever they go depending on what the enemy team has. It really doesn't matter. So at the end of the day, you get around the entire concept of the counter pick itself. So inherently, red side doesn't even have an advantage in draft. That was the one, trump card, or, well, don't mean to get fucking political. But that's the one fucking card that they have against blue side's first pick, is that they get the counter pick and they also get the double pick, after the first pick, right? So if there are multiple OPs, they get the other two OPs rather than just the single one. But oftentimes that doesn't even work either, because say if there are 3 OP picks, well, then what blue side is going to do is they're just not going to ban any OPs, right? So it's going to go blue side bans, then red side bans, blue, red, right? So what's going to happen is that they're just going to ban and target ban, right? And once they realize after you target ban once, they're going to target ban again, you'll target ban, then they just ban an OP, and then you're stuck like, okay, well, now we either ban an OP, the one that we don't want the most, or we don't ban either, and maybe we get one OP, but then they just choose the one that's more OP, right? So it just doesn't really work in terms of the draft phase itself. The red side is just at an inherent disadvantage. That's why you see Cassiopeia banned constantly from red side. It's because that pick just can't fucking go over there, or else you're going to get destroyed. And so the whole point is, there's another article first done by .esports in 2015 by Brendan Schilling. Funny last name, because he's from Immortals. But regardless, head analyst from Immortals made an article in 2015 during Worlds where he talks about blue side advantage. And this is just from the ban phase perspective. And this was when Mord, GP, and Lulu were all must bans in that meta. And it was because GP and Lulu were in that must ban because of their flexing capability. And this was kind of the area in which we started seeing or emerging that flex picks were a actual real valuable thing within the meta. And it really didn't come to big fruition until recently with 2018, right? So now we're fully into the flex pick meta. And the most worrying trend about it is that Riot's business model itself hinges on exciting and broken champion releases or reworks, and that in itself is a must ban, right? So you already have this must ban, but as they keep releasing more and more champions, there are going to be more and more times in which it's able to be flex picked. And flex picks will only continue to become a worse problem over time because they will just keep accumulating, right? So you'll have Urgot as a flex pick, or you'll have Aatrox as a flex pick, or GP or Lulu or whomever. You'll have these flex picks constantly, and they'll just keep aggregating over time. And Riot can't really stop this unless they do something crazy like I don't know, fucking prohibit a champion from going into the jungle or something by reducing his XP if he goes into the jungle. But then this would just ruin innovation from the players, right? It'd just be like, oh cool, so you just basically tried to quick band-aid this shit by saying that I can't get XP in the jungle, so then I'm forced to go top or mid, and then you're going to do some other bullshit to where, I don't know, maybe I can't get XP in the mid lane for the first 3 minutes or some shit. So there's no real way for Riot to stop this fully. So it's going to be something difficult that we're going to run into headlong, and it most likely can't be stopped. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that since this can't be stopped, it's just going to become the entire new meta eventually, and then that's going to exacerbate the advantages for red side or blue side and the disadvantages for red side, and it's just going to become this game to where now people are going to eventually say, oh well, they only won because they were on blue side. Let's see what happens when they're on red side. And so there's going to be this significant advantage, and it's going to be difficult to navigate later on throughout history, but we are just seeing the small instances in which it is flaring up, and maybe this should be addressed before it becomes a problem that consumes the entire game.